To pay off my birth parents' debt, I worked day and night at 3 jobs, just to make things a bit easier for them. I was so worn out and trying to save money that I had nothing but steamed buns and pickled vegetables. It ended up giving me stomach cancer at such a young age. When I went to use my savings for treatment, I found that the $100,000 I saved was taken by my parents. Anna, we used that money to pay off debts. We have nothing left. Can you wait another month? I glanced at the doctor's recommendation to get admitted as soon as possible and just stayed quiet. But in the dead of night, delivering takeout to a fancy estate throwing a party, I saw my parents surrounding a well-dressed girl, celebrating her birthday. They were spending lavishly on her, way more than my medical expenses. Turns out they're from a wealthy family, and the so-called debt was just a test for their real daughter, mistakenly swapped at birth. I don't even know how I got home. Leaving that estate felt like leaving my soul behind, and even lying in my small bed, I stayed numb. I stared at the yellowing ceiling for who knows how long before I heard keys in the old lock. I sat up as my parents entered. They swapped out their expensive suits and dresses for dull work uniforms, just like a typical working-class couple. They seemed surprised to find me at home. Anna, you're back early today? No work. Forcing a smile, I replied, yeah, got a headache, so I came back early. Headache? Mom, Susan, immediately dropped her bag and came over to check on me, placing her warm hand on my forehead. Her voice was full of genuine concern. No fever. How come you suddenly have a headache? Did you take any medicine? I lied, eyes downcast. Yeah, I did. Dad picked up the bag Mom had put down and handed it to me. Anna, it's your birthday today, and we couldn't afford a cake or gifts, but we got you this little dessert. You should try it. I glanced at it. The dessert was fancy, something I'd never had before. Before, I would have been moved to tears, thinking my parents remembered my birthday despite tough times. But now it just felt ironic. I was the one who delivered it. That pampered girl ordered it on a whim, then sneered at it once I dropped it off. I don't want such cheap stuff, just throw it out. I never imagined my parents would bring that dessert to me, and I didn't expect they'd bring it with the complimentary gift from the shop. Am I only worth the freebies to them? My heart felt like it had been doused with vinegar, sour and bitter. But I showed nothing, just put the dessert aside. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Mom. My icy response puzzled them. They thought I should be thrilled with the dessert. But considering I said I wasn't feeling well, they didn't think much of it. Until I brought up the $100,000 again. Dad, Mom, I actually need it urgently. A month is too long. Can you give me the money sooner? Their faces changed abruptly, like I touched on something sensitive. So the headache was about money, huh? Dad's face was full of impatience. Didn't we tell you it went to debt? Mom didn't approve either. Anna, what do you need so much money for? Where are we supposed to get $100,000 now? Are you getting into bad things? You weren't like this before. Listening to their lecture, I thought of that necklace. A pink diamond big as a sugar cube. I heard the gasps around, saying it was bought for over $10 million at an auction, 100 times my $100,000. Yet when I asked for my own money, they scolded me like I'd committed a major crime. I forced a smile, but the fatigue spread through my heart. Never mind, I don't need it anymore. I lay back in bed. My parents exchanged looks, still displeased but said nothing more. The apartment fell silent. Lying there, unable to sleep, I heard them speaking softly. Is she asleep? Probably, let me check. I quickly shut my eyes, pretending to be asleep when footsteps approached. Once sure I was asleep, they talked more freely. How long do we have to live in this dump? Hang in there, just a month to go. It'll be 3 years by then. We can bring Anna back. Mom sounded worried. Honey, do you think Anna will be mad we kept this from her? What for? Dad dismissed the concern. So many people want to associate with our family. Without Wendy's idea, how would we know if Anna truly wants to be with us? Right, the kid's been decent, almost 3 years now, just not generous. She fussed over the $100,000 like it's the end of the world. Mom's voice carried disappointment. Dad added, not raised by us, so unlike Wendy. Even without blood ties, Wendy's the perfect lady of our family. Yeah, not sure if after the test, bringing Anna back will embarrass us. Their voices faded as they fell asleep. I didn't open my eyes, but tears slid down my cheeks. They really went all out, holding high positions, yet lowering themselves to play this working-class act with me. But why? Just 'cause they have money, does that give them the right to mess with my life? Am I supposed to feel bad 'cause I love money? Was that something I just wanted from the start? If I'd grown up like Wendy, in that same environment, with all those advantages, a good education, would I be any different? But I'm just a kid who grew up in an orphanage. No parents. People used to give me strange looks in school. That's why I'm a loner with a strong personality. Worked my butt off to get into a decent college, graduated, and even landed an okay job in most folks' eyes. Before they found me, I was ready to be an orphan forever, never knowing a parent's love. But they showed up, and all those secret hopes inside me came rushing back out. I believed I could have a happy home, even if it was poor, even if life was rough. I'm still young. I can make money, but it seems like I'm just unlucky. I got stomach cancer, and then found out the parents I'd been dreaming about were lying to me all along. I picked up the pastry from the table. It looked so fancy. No wonder my coworkers always waited in line to buy them. But it wasn't just a pastry. It was something others had thrown away, even a freebie. Maybe to my parents, someone like me only deserves the tough life, to only have what others don't want. This night felt endless. I couldn't sleep at all. My stomach ached so bad. Just as I thought of getting up for some medicine, someone knocked on the door of our little rented apartment. The knocking was urgent. Someone was in a real hurry. My folks, woken up by the noise, grumbled in annoyance. "Who's that, disturbing people so early?" I was closest to the door. With red, swollen eyes, I sighed and opened it. A cop in uniform stood outside. He looked me over and said, "You're Anna, right? Do you remember where you were last night?" His tone bugged me, but knowing I had to cooperate, I answered, "I was running errands, delivering pastries." Mom and Dad were up too now. Hearing it was the police, they frowned, stepped in front of me, like they were gonna back me up. "Officer, did something happen to our daughter?" I stared at their backs, feeling conflicted. They always acted like they cared about me. But if they really did, why would they lie? My mind was all over the place, not even understanding my own feelings. The cop's voice pulled me back to reality. "Anna, you're a suspect in a theft case. You'll need to come with us for questioning." My parents' eyes widened with shock, staring at me incredulously. That instinctive look felt like a knife, piercing my already shattered heart. "I didn't steal anything. Why are you looking at me like that?" Finally, my folks awkwardly shifted their gaze. "Officer, there must be some mistake, right? We checked the surveillance. The only suspicious person entering and exiting the area was Anna." The cop explained, all prim and proper. His tone got more stern when he spoke to me. "Anna, that necklace is worth a lot. If you took it, you better hand it over." I was mad as hell, my stomach cramping worse with my anger. "You have no proof. How can you just decide it was me? The only suspicious person was you. Please cooperate." Dad quickly tried to calm the situation. "It's just a necklace. No big deal, we can pay for it." "Yeah, how much could a necklace be worth?" Hearing my parents say that, I froze. It wasn't about whether they could afford it or not. They'd already decided it was me who took it. But I just ran an errand at the mansion. What necklace could I have taken? The cop seemed to find my parents' words odd too. "This isn't about compensating anyone. It's about right and wrong. That necklace is $1 million pink diamond. Can you really pay for that?" $1 million pink diamond. Those words seemed to hit my folks hard. Their faces turned pale. Mom turned, frowning at me. "Where did you go last night?" Her tone was partly questioning, partly guilty. I just felt mocked. "I went to the mansion on the outskirts, delivered pastries for Wendy." "You went to the mansion?" Mom's voice shot up, but she quickly covered her mouth in regret. Dad gave me a long look. "Anna, tell me, what did you see?" "I saw things you didn't want me to see, obviously." I didn't hold back. Hearing my words, Mom and Dad seemed to freeze, statuesque, completely silent. After what seemed forever, Dad spoke again, carefully picking his words. "About who we are. We didn't mean to keep it from you. Can you understand?" I didn't respond, but my silence said enough. The cop, confused about what we were talking about, impatiently urged us on. We had no choice but to get in the squad car and head to the station. Inside the station, The girl I saw yesterday was waiting. Her eyes were red, obviously crying, with skin so pale it was really noticeable. She looked pitiful. Mom and Dad rushed over to her. "Wendy, what's wrong? Why are you crying? Your eyes are all red." I caught my reflection in a mirror. My own eyes were swollen from a night of crying. I smirked sarcastically. Even the cop who'd been giving me the cold shoulder looked confused. How come my parents suddenly care about the victims so much and act like they're close friends? That girl sweetly says, "Dad, Mom, you're here." With that one sentence, the eavesdropping cops look like they've been struck by lightning. They glance at me, then the girl, and finally my plainly dressed parents. How on earth do we all connect? My parents realize they can't play dumb anymore and introduce themselves to the cops. "Sorry, officers. Both Anna and Wendy are our daughters. This is really just a misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding? Dad, Mom, that was my birthday gift you got me." Wendy stamps her foot, pouting in frustration. "I know my sister's been through a lot, but that necklace means so much to me. Mom, Dad, you can't play favorites." With just a few words, Wendy paints herself as a little girl upset over parental favoritism. I see a flicker of sympathy flash across my parents' faces. My mom grabs Wendy's hand, soothing her gently. "Come on now, she's still your sister. We'll get you more necklaces, okay?" They don't even bother double-checking. They assume I took the necklace. That superior attitude really rubs me the wrong way, and I can't hold back anymore. I already said I didn't take the necklace. My sudden outburst leaves my parents and Wendy dumbfounded. My dad massages his temples in frustration. "If not you, then who? Wendy's not the troublemaking type. If she says it's missing, it's missing. Anyway, you knew we were hiding it from you. Why didn't you speak up last night? We got Wendy an expensive necklace, and you only got a pastry. Aren't you upset?" I can't believe they blatantly displayed such favoritism and deceit. Once more, I realize my standing isn't on par with Wendy's in my parents' minds. They think I'll retaliate now that I know the truth. But it never crossed their minds that Wendy could be stirring up trouble. While I didn't envy Wendy's lavish gift, facing the trust my parents gave her and their suspicion of me, I felt like vinegar was poured in my wounds, making them fester. Wendy stands behind them, flashing me a look of defiance. Our eyes lock and I get it. From the moment I got that delivery call yesterday, everything was part of her plan, all designed to show how different we are. Well, she nailed it. I let out a bitter laugh, but my pride won't allow me to bear the label of a thief. Not looking at my parents, I turned to the cops. "Officers, I assure you, I didn't take the necklace. You can investigate. Also, might I suggest you thoroughly search the manor? If it turns out I took it, I'll apologize. If not, I expect an apology from her." Wendy's face goes stiff. She planned for everything, but didn't expect me to defy my parents' narrative. She only knew me as obedient, never realizing that before I found them, I lived fiercely on my own. The cops notice Wendy's expression and seem to catch on. They look at me, then my parents, and proceed with the investigation. The focus shifts from my apartment to the manor. Half an hour flies by. I sit there, calm as can be. Wendy's jittery, constantly eyeing the door. When the officer walks in with the necklace looking displeased, she's visibly distressed. "Miss Wendy, we found the necklace under your bed." My parents whip around, staring at Wendy in disbelief. "Wendy, didn't you say the necklace was?" My mom's voice trails off. She glances at me with a hint of guilt. Wendy's expression turns rigid, but she forces a smile. "Sorry, I was careless and misunderstood my sister. But we're family, so can't we just drop this?" Her hopes seem charming. I scoff, clearly not on board. Does she think I'm a fool? When it was about pinning the blame, family didn't matter, huh? She never saw me as family, only cared now that it backfired on her. When I say nothing, Wendy wells up with tears. "I know I was wrong. Will you forgive me this once?" She pleads, clutching my hand. I hate it when people touch me, especially when she grips tight like she wants to dig her nails into me. I draw back slightly, making her stumble backward. Her acting's pathetic, the trick amateurish. Yet my parents fall for it. "Enough, Anna. Your sister's just young. She didn't know any better. Can't you be a bit more forgiving?" My mom defends the fragile Wendy on the floor. "She's always had health issues. Why did you push her? If her health's bad, is mine perfect?" Getting stomach cancer so young, that's easy for me? Stomach cancer? My parents' eyes widen. Why would you get stomach cancer? Why do you think? I draw my lips in smugly, and they go silent. Health issues, barring genetics, are usually caused by a few things. Long periods without food, irregular meals, poor diet, you name it. How come you never told us? Mom rebukes, her eyes now wet. She looks genuinely concerned. It stirs something in me too. But seeing my parents soften their attitude towards me, Wendy wasn't happy about it. Her almond-shaped eyes flashed with a hint of malice, and she rolled her eyes. Sister, stomach cancer isn't a minor illness. Have you been to the hospital? Got any medical records? I raised an eyebrow. What, you think I'm lying? Wendy shook her head. Sister, you look pretty healthy to me. I have a classmate whose family member has stomach issues, and they're really skinny. Maybe it was a misdiagnosis. My parents thought Wendy made some sense. Who gets diagnosed with something so serious, but still lives life strong and healthy, even working part-time? They probably thought I said it for attention, to fool them. Seeing their expressions change, I couldn't even be bothered to explain. Just felt a bit colder inside. I'm the kind of person who holds grudges. To me, they no longer felt like family. But just because I stayed silent doesn't mean they did. You're truly unbelievable, using such tricks to deceive us. Apologize to Wendy right now. Looking at the parents I've spent 3 years with, I felt like I never knew them. I need to apologize to Wendy? She fell and accused me of stealing. It's slander. She should apologize to me. Hearing my words, my parents looked a bit embarrassed. But quickly, they regained their composure. It's all in the family, no need to argue about slander. It's just a misunderstanding. We know you're upset, but perhaps you don't know our family's worth. Only around 10 million. Whatever you want in the future, we'll get it for you. Can we just let this go? I coldly looked at the three of them, and shook my head slowly. No. My parents didn't expect me to be so unyielding. People like them, always in high places, who'd ever defied them. Now they were losing face repeatedly because of me. Mom suppressed her annoyance. Anna, must you be so aggressive? Wendy apologized, but you didn't accept it, and even pushed her. What exactly do you want? You weren't like this before. You were so understanding. I felt even more ironic. Understanding? Sure, I used to be quite understanding. But what did I get in return? My hard-earned money, my health, even my reputation. They're not even willing to leave me those. As their daughter, do I owe them? But thinking of the $100,000, I finally smirked. Want me to drop this? Fine, return my $100,000. What excuse will you use this time? Can't pay it back. Hearing me mention the $100,000 again, my parents' faces turned as dark as the bottom of a pot. Dad furrowed his brow, like I'd said something embarrassing. It's just $100,000. Do you really have to bring it up again and again? Anna, aren't you being a little petty? As our daughter, $100,000 should be nothing to you. His arrogance and pride were blatant, making me just let out a snort of laughter. Sure, for a rich family's daughter, $100,000 is nothing. But for me, it's the blood, sweat, and tears of the last 3 years. My official salary is $6,000 a month, plus $4,000 from part-time jobs. Paying rent and supporting 3 people. I scraped together that $100,000 to help you pay off debts. And now you say I'm being petty? My questioning made them angry, yet they had no words to counter. That's exactly how these 3 years went. They lived in my rental, spending my money without a second thought. They always thought they'd repay me later, never considering how much I was giving up now. I heard Mom mutter something. Weren't you used to growing up like that? Why can't you adjust to us? Dad stayed silent, but his expression showed he agreed with Mom. And just like that, my last bit of hope for them disappeared. To them, I was used to hardship growing up, so I could endure more. All the compromises I made for family became expected. I felt like I was being torn apart, every inch of my body in pain. Not wanting to waste more words on these out-of-touch aristocrats, I sat up and repeated what I said before. For me to let this go, return my $100,000. My voice was soft, but shook them to their core. Looking at me, they felt like they were about to lose something important. Wendy's eyes flickered. Dad, Mom, If the $100,000 is so important to her, let's just give it to her. We'll make it up to her later. We're family after all. No grudge lasts overnight. My parents thought it over, realizing she might be right. Fine, Anna. We'll give you the $100,000, but you must drop this matter. It was just a test for you. And you've done well these 3 years. Those $100,000 aren't significant. However, you can't behave like this in the future. As our daughter, what can't you have? A mere $100,000. Even the nearby police officers were at a loss for words at their bizarre sense of superiority. What a weird attitude. Unable to even appreciate their own child. Ignoring them, I checked the text notification of the payment, explained the situation to the police, then got ready to leave. My parents were stunned. Where are you going? Home. Mom frowned. Back to that rental? It's so shabby. Come back to the mansion with us. Shabby. Hearing that, I suddenly remembered our first New Year's together, crammed into the rental. We watched the Spring Festival Gala, eating veggie dumplings together. My parents were smiling from ear to ear. With Anna here, this is the happiest New Year we've ever had. They hugged me, and for the first time, I felt the warmth of my parents blushing and tearing up. It was in that moment I swore I would make money and help them pay off their debts. I didn't think much at the time. When I'd wake up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, the house was always empty. I just assumed they were out working, never thought to question it. But now looking back, I realized my mom looked at me with disdain at the dinner table. And after that hug I remembered for so long, they were visibly uncomfortable, like they had bugs crawling on them. To them I was that bug. I didn't stop walking, and headed straight to the hospital after leaving the police station. The scenery outside the cab window kept rolling past as I took a deep breath, having clarity like never before. Family like this, I'm better off without them. The bodyguard looked relieved and had a bit of sympathy in his eyes towards me. He never expected the parents who always seemed to dotingly love Wendy would be so fed up with their own daughter. He felt embarrassed to say how thankful he was that Anna hadn't attended the family reunion yesterday. Being a bodyguard, he'd seen a lot while entering and leaving the estate. My parents had Wendy prepare dresses and makeup, and Wendy did, but she set aside 2 outfits. One looked like a tacky flea market find, while the other was quite normal. He hadn't thought much of it until he saw her hide the good one. It was all about setting someone up for humiliation. Make someone look foolish, then turn the accusations against them to ruin Anna's reputation. But her meticulous planning was all for naught as the intended victim never showed, ruining her malicious plot. Thinking back, the bodyguard nearly laughed but held back, standing at the door waiting for Anna's family. He genuinely wondered what the parents' reactions would be once they realized Anna was truly ill. Anna's family soon arrived at the hospital. This time they all showed up, including my parents and Wendy, though none of them seemed sympathetic. They looked more like they were here to raise a fuss rather than visit a patient. Before the bodyguard could say anything, my dad kicked the hospital room door open. Anna, how long are you going to keep causing drama? We gave you back that $100,000 and promised compensation. If you keep this up, we'll disown you. Wendy followed, pretending to calm things down. Dad, don't be too upset. Maybe sis just isn't thinking straight. But really sis, why end up in the hospital? Isn't that just inviting laughter from strangers? Her words only made my parents angrier. The higher someone's status, the more they cared about their image. At this moment, they genuinely felt that disowning their daughter might be better. My mom moved close to scold me, but when she turned, her voice caught. What is that? A young nurse, who had held back long enough, finally spoke out. Are you blind? It's medical equipment. Are you family or foes? She just had surgery for stomach cancer, and is still very weak. You all storm in like this. Who raised you people? There are other patients here too, you know. My family, used to looking down their noses at everyone, were never scolded like this. Yet seeing everyone around glare at them angrily, they knew they were in the wrong. And that one nurse's comment, stomach cancer? You do have stomach cancer? Mom staggered back, nearly falling. Dad barely caught her, both shocked. Anna, why didn't you tell us you had surgery? I sneered. Tell you? Didn't you accuse me of lying when I mentioned being sick before? When I said I needed that $100,000, you said I was greedy. The words, like slaps to the face, left them looking guilty and ashamed. Wendy tried to salvage the situation, but before she could speak, I cut her off. Wendy, planning to accuse me of lying again? I still have records on my phone from when you'd sent me on errands to the estate. Don't think you're that clever. If you want to stay home, it's all yours. It's got nothing to do with me. I've been an orphan all my life, growing up and beyond. Got it? I made it clear I was cutting ties with them. Mom and Dad looked like they'd been struck by lightning, realizing the obedient daughter they once had was gone. Though she stood before them, the distance felt vast. That day, they repented by my bedside for a long time. But the hospital staff and fellow patients knew what they'd done, standing firmly by my side, unsparingly escorting them out. I thanked those who helped me with a smile. Since that day, my parents realized my difficult upbringing wasn't my fault. They owed me. And learning about my experiences from those 3 years shattered their hearts. They tried calling, but I had already blocked their numbers. Every new number got blocked too. Soon, my phone buzzed with transfer notifications. I watched each transaction, hundreds of thousands, come through, and accepted them with no remorse. After all, it was their debt to me. I spent a month recovering in the hospital, and after I was discharged, I learned about my family's situation online. Wendy was exposed, and my parents kicked her out in anger and frustration. Bitter, she sold company secrets to rivals, leading to her arrest. Before her imprisonment, she screamed that she was the real heiress, appearing utterly deranged. My parents' business, once mighty, crumbled under rival attacks, taking just 3 years to implode from a mere seed to rubble. They who were so high and mighty ended up bankrupt like they had once deceitfully told me, becoming debt-ridden commoners. But this time, they owed not just millions, but over 100 million, impossible to repay in a lifetime. As for me, I'd long moved on, using the compensation they'd given to buy a house in a different city, building my own home. In this world, no one deserved my effort or attempts to please except for me. I'd focus on loving myself and growing my own beautiful flower anew.